Before we unlock the archives,
target
make
is
sure you
moving
are
along this
subscribed
route.
and have
We must
enabled
intercept
notifications so you never
What about
miss
the
an
northern
operation.
flank?
It's
And
exposed.
in the comments
We focus
below,
on the
let us know what part of the world you are watching from. Now, access protocol initiated. We are going deep inside the mechanism. In the muted, smoke-filled corridors of the Mossad headquarters on Tel Aviv's King Saul Boulevard, the map told a story of profound isolation. It was the early 1970s. To the north, Syria and Lebanon. To the east, Jordan and Iraq. To the south, Egypt. The borders were not just lines on paper. They were laminated, sealed shut by generations of hostility. They were sensor fields, minefields, sniper posts, and patrols. For the Institute, the problem was one of physical access. How do you move a Katsa, a field agent, into Damascus? How do you plant a sophisticated listening device near a military headquarters in Baghdad? How do you exfiltrate a high-value defector from Tehran? Land crossings were suicide. Sea infiltration was limited. Commercial air travel meant passing through the front door, through the meticulous, paranoid scrutiny of a dozen rival intelligence services, all looking for the faintest hint of an Israeli accent, a flawed document, a flicker of fear in the eye. It was a gamble every single time, and the price of failure was absolute. On a rainy Tuesday, Amir Harel, deputy director of Summit, the Division for Recruitment and Operations, stared at the map. Harel was not a dashing field operative. He was a logistician, a man who thought in systems, timetables, and loopholes. He saw the borders not as walls, but as a failed delivery mechanism. "We are trying to mail a package through a mailbox that is welded shut," he said to his small, hand-picked team. "We knock, we pry, we try to disguise the package. This is wrong. We are thinking like spies." A young officer named Ben, a former Air Force quartermaster, looked up. "What should we think like, Amir?" Harold tapped the blue expanse of the Mediterranean on the map. "We should think like businessmen. We don't need a new Katsa. We don't need a new passport. We need a new system. We need a delivery service." The room was silent. Harold continued, his voice low, the words reshaping the room. "What if the package never goes through the post office? What if the package is delivered by the mailman? We build the mail service. We become the mail service." The idea was audacious to the point of absurdity. Harel wasn't proposing a one-off charter. He was proposing the creation of an entire functioning, legitimate commercial entity, a cargo airline. An airline registered in a neutral country, staffed by real pilots, flying real cargo, paying real landing fees, and, on occasion, carrying a very different kind-all of cargo in its hold. It would be the single most expensive, complex, and bureaucratic cover story ever conceived. It would require millions. It would require patience. It would mean Mossad, an agency of spies, would have to learn to run an aviation business, a business notorious for its razor-thin margins and catastrophic failures. "We will call it," Harel said, walking to the window and looking out at the city. "Something boring, something forgettable. Cyprus Mediterranean Airways. And its first market," he smiled grimly, "will be agricultural equipment to Greece. Its second will be whatever we need it to be." The paper airline had its wings. Larnaca, Cyprus. 1973. The island was a crossroads of the Mediterranean, a sun-baked mosaic of British tourists, Greek Cypriots, Turkish Cypriots, and the quiet, watchful agents of a dozen nations. It was the perfect gray zone. Amir Harel's plan, codenamed Operation Albatross, began not with spies but with lawyers. Shell companies were formed in Panama, which leased office space in Nicosia. Money was funneled from a Swiss bank, appearing as a consortium of European investors, keen to break into the burgeoning Middle East cargo market. They purchased their first aircraft. Not a sleek new jet, but a 15-year-old Boeing 707 freighter, rattling and stained with hydraulic fluid, bought at auction from a defunct South American cargo line. It was painted in a bland, forgettable livery, a simple blue stripe and a stylized CMA on the tail. Cyprus Mediterranean Airways was born. The public face of the operation was a legitimate, unsuspecting Cypriot shipping magnate, wooed by the prospect of a new venture. The real manager of Hangar 4 at Larnaca International was a scion, a Jewish diaspora volunteer named Daniel. Daniel was a quiet, balding man who had run a successful import-export business in London. He was meticulous, unshakable, and completely devoted. Then came the crew. This was the genius of Harold's plan. The layers. 80% of CMA's staff would be clean. They hired mercenary pilots, ex-RAF, ex-South African, American veterans, men who asked few questions as long as the paycheck cleared. They flew the white routes, textiles from Istanbul, machine parts from Frankfurt, fresh produce to Athens. They built a reputation. CMA was slow, their planes were old, but they were reliable. They paid their fuel bills on time. Alongside them, Mossad embedded its own. The chief pilot of the 707, Ronan, was a decorated IAF veteran, a man who could fly anything. His co-pilot was clean. The chief mechanic was Mossad. The operations manager in Nicosia was Mossad. In Hangar 4, the real work was done. While the clean mechanics worked on the engines, the dirty team worked on the inside. The 707's forward cargo hold was modified. A special lead-lined compartment, designated Special Cargo Unit 7, was built into the fuselage, invisible to the eye. It was soundproofed, temperature-controlled, and had a small, concealed oxygen supply. It was designed to hold one person, or 100 kilograms of delicate electronics, and be completely invisible to airport X-rays and customs checks. For 6 months, CMA flew nothing but legitimate cargo. They lost money, as Harel predicted. They filed paperwork. They became a boring, established part of the Larnaca ecosystem. Syrian, Lebanese, and even Iraqi airport authorities saw their call sign on manifests. They were the slow, cheap option. In Tel Aviv, Amir Harel read the reports. "Good," he said. "We are boring. We are legitimate. Now, it's time to make our first delivery." The Mossad technical labs at Glilo Junction, north of Tel Aviv, were a place of dark magic. They were the armorers, the forgers, the engineers of the invisible. When Amir Harel brought them the schematics for Special Cargo Unit 7, they refined it. The challenge wasn't just hiding a person, it was keeping them functional. A flight from Larnaca to Damascus was short, but the process, loading, takeoff, landing, unloading, and transport to a safe house, could take over 12 hours. The agent would be in total darkness, in a space not much larger than a coffin, enduring the violent roar of the engines and the G-forces of takeoff. The engineers developed a custom-molded insert. The Katsa would be lightly sedated, strapped in to prevent injury, and equipped with a small earpiece. The earpiece would play a looping audio file, a simple countdown timer, or a click every 5 minutes. It was a psychological anchor, a way to measure time in the void. The first passenger was Eliana. She was 26, born in Argentina, and spoke flawless, accentless Arabic with a Damascene lilt. Her cover was as a university student. Her mission, to embed herself in the social circles of Damascus University, a recruiting ground for the Ba'ath Party's elite. She was the definition of a deep cover asset. For 3 weeks, Eliana trained for the insertion. She was locked in the prototype container in the Glilo lab. First for an hour, then 4, then 8, then 12. She practiced breathing control. She practiced meditation. She practiced arriving in a new city after 12 hours of sensory deprivation and being instantly sharp, alert, and normal. While she trained, the logistics team prepared the legend for the cargo. The manifest for CMA Flight 104, Larnaca to Damascus, was filed. Its cargo, drilling equipment and hydraulic pumps, for a Syrian government agricultural project. The manifest was a work of art. The weight of the pumps precisely matched the weight of the Special Cargo Unit 7, plus Eliana and her gear. The forged export licenses from Germany were flawless. On the night of the flight, Eliana was driven to a secure airbase. She was dressed in simple clothes, her deep-cover documents and Syrian currency strapped to her body. She took the mild sedative, shook hands with Harel, and climbed into the container. The lid was sealed. The container was loaded onto a truck driven to Larnaca and passed through CMA's private cargo screening. In the pre-dawn darkness, Ronan, the pilot, did his pre-flight check. His clean co-pilot, a British freelancer, was nursing a coffee. "What's this special agricultural gear?" the co-pilot asked, tapping the manifest. Ronan shrugged, not looking up from his fuel calculations. Government contract. They pay extra for climate control. Just means we keep the forward hold above freezing. Now, let's check the weather over the mountains. The engines of the 707 spooled up with a low, guttural whine. Inside Special Cargo Unit 7, Eliana felt the vibration not as a sound, but as a pressure wave through her entire body. The sedative kept panic at bay, but she was acutely aware of the acceleration, the heavy, sinking feeling as the old jet clawed its way into the night sky over the Mediterranean. On the flight deck, Ronan was all business. CMA 104, climbing to flight level 290. Larnaca Control. Roger, 104. Contact Damascus Control at the FIR. The flight was routine. The clean co-pilot handled the radios, complaining about the quality of the coffee. Ronan monitored the instruments. He paid special attention to one, a small unmarked gauge installed by the Glilot techs. It showed the oxygen saturation and temperature inside Unit 7. The needles were steady. Inside the box, Eliana heard only the deafening roar of the airframe. The click in her ear. Click, click. She counted. She recited her cover story. My name is Salma. I study history. My father is a merchant. Click, click. As they approached the Syrian coast, the tension on the flight deck changed. This was enemy airspace. Damascus Control, Cyprus Mediterranean 104, level 290. A voice, clipped and formal, crackled back. CMA 104, radar contact. You are cleared for the Menli 2A arrival. Descend to 1000. Altimeter 1013. Ronan began the descent. The plane shuddered in the morning thermals. Below, the ancient landscape of Syria, brown and gold, emerged from the haze. In the distance, the city of Damascus. CMA 104, expect visual approach, runway 23 right. Roger, visual 23 right, CMA 104. Ronan was a superb pilot. He eased the heavy freighter onto the tarmac with a gentle bump. The co-pilot sighed. Another day, another dollar. Hope the ground crew here is faster than in Beirut. They taxied to the cargo apron, a distant concrete slab far from the passenger terminal. The engine spooled down, and the sudden silence was almost as jarring as the noise. A follow-me vehicle led them to their parking spot. This was the first moment of real danger. The Syrian Customs and Air Force intelligence teams, lounging near a jeep, watched as the ground crew approached. On the tarmac, a man in a dusty CMA ground uniform was waiting. This was Yakov, Mossad's station chief in Damascus. His cover was George, the lazy, chain-smoking, and slightly corrupt local shipping agent for CMA. He was known to all the customs officials as a man who could get you cheap cigarettes. Yakov George sauntered over to the customs chief, offering a pack of Marlboros. Morning, Captain. Just the agricultural pumps today. My guys will handle it. We'll have it in the warehouse before you finish your coffee. The captain took a cigarette. Government contract? Yes. You know how they are. Priority. But it's just pumps. The captain nodded, bored. He waved at his men. Let them pass. I want the manifest paperwork. Yakov signaled his ground crew. 2 other Syanim running a local freight forwarding business. They brought the forklift. They knew exactly which container to get. As they moved to the forward hold, Eliana heard the clicks stop. A new sound, a soft, 3-pulse beep, the all-clear signal. The container was loaded onto a flatbed truck. Yakov signed the papers, bribed the captain with 2 cartons of cigarettes for his trouble, and the truck rolled slowly away from the airport, merging into the morning traffic, heading for a nondescript warehouse in the suburbs of Damascus. Inside the box, Eliana felt the change in motion. The smooth roll of the tarmac replaced by the stop-and-start lurch of city streets. She took a slow, deep breath. Phase 1 was over. The warehouse was in the Ghouta, the agricultural belt surrounding Damascus. It was owned by a legitimate fruit export company. The owner was an Alawite businessman who despised the Ba'ath regime after a land dispute. He was also one of Mossad's most valuable Syanim. The truck rolled into the loading bay, the heavy doors rattling shut. For 10 minutes, silence. Then, the sound of a metal latch. The container hissed open. Yakov George pulled back the lid. Eliana was staring at him, her eyes adjusting to the dim light. She was drenched in sweat, but her hands were steady. Welcome to Damascus. Yakov said softly in Hebrew. "Took you long enough," she replied. She was taken to a small room, given water and food. After an hour, she emerged, dressed as a university student, carrying a small satchel. She walked out the front door of the fruit company, hailed a taxi, and disappeared into the city. Eliana, the Katza, was gone. Salma, the student, had arrived. This was the system, replicated across the Middle East. CMA wasn't just an airline, it was a network of ground support. Every capital had its own Yakov, its own secure warehouse, its own network of Sayanim who handled the last mile. In Beirut, the CMA agent was a French-Lebanese woman who ran a high-end art import business. She used CMA to fly sculptures and antiquities from Europe. These crates provided the perfect cover for sensitive listening equipment, which was then installed in safe houses overlooking PLO offices. In Baghdad, the operation was infinitely more dangerous. The airport was run by Saddam Hussein's Mukhabarat. The CMA agent there was an Iraqi Jewish man who had for decades hidden his identity. He posed as a gruff, fiercely nationalistic Ba'ath Party logistics member. His position gave him authority to wave CMA's oil drilling equipment through with minimal checks. The equipment was, in fact, sophisticated SIGINT gear, which was later transported by local Kurdish allies to the north. The genius of the ground game was its reliance on boredom and bureaucracy. Spies look for the unusual, the nervous passenger, the fake passport, the hidden compartment. They do not look at a 20-ton shipment of industrial fertilizer that has all its paperwork in order. They do not question the cranky ground manager who is yelling at them about docking fees. The system was a machine. Larnaca loaded the weapon. Ronan and the pilots delivered it. Yakov and the ground teams aimed it. And agents like Eliana pulled the trigger. For 2 years, the airline operated flawlessly. It flew into capitals that were technically at war with Israel. It delivered agents, communications gear, and weapons. It exfiltrated defectors and compromising documents. It was the most audacious and most successful infiltration program in Mossad's history. And no one had noticed. By 1977, the map was changing. The storm clouds gathering over Iran were of intense interest to Tel Aviv. The Shah, a strategic partner, was losing his grip. The rise of clerical opposition signaled a seismic shift that could destabilize the entire region. Mossad needed eyes on the ground, but not just in Tehran. They needed access to the holy city of Qom, the nerve center of the opposition. CMA was activated for its most complex mission yet. The white side of the airline had a standing contract flying medical supplies and pharmaceuticals from Germany to Tehran. This route was now prioritized. The cargo for this flight was twofold. First, a deep-cover Katza team of 2, a husband and wife pair who would pose as Persian merchants. Second, a highly advanced short-range radio transmission kit, disguised as a medical centrifuge. The insertion was complicated by the paranoia of the Shah's own intelligence service, SAVAK. They were notoriously thorough and brutal. This time, Yakov's cigarette bribe routine wouldn't work. Amir Harel designed a new layer. The cargo was officially routed not to a private warehouse, but to an Iranian Red Lion and Sun Society, the local Red Cross equivalent hospital. A doctor at that hospital, a Sayanim recruited by Mossad years earlier, was waiting. The 707, piloted by Ronan, landed at Merabat Airport. The clean co-pilot, a new South African, was nervous. "Heard Savak likes to pull pilots aside for questions," he muttered. "Just fly the plane. Let the handlers handle the freight," Ronan said, his eyes scanning the tarmac. The cargo was unloaded. As planned, a Savak agent, flanked by soldiers, approached the centrifuge crate. "Open this," he demanded. The CMA ground handler, an Iranian Sayanim, produced the manifest. "Sir, this is delicate medical equipment. It must be opened in a sterile environment. It is for the children's hospital. Here is the letter from the health ministry." The Savak agent stared at the paperwork. The seal was genuine. The letter was flawless, forged by Mossad's best. He was faced with a bureaucratic choice: delay vital medical equipment for a children's hospital and create paperwork for himself, or wave it through. He tapped the crate. "Fine, but my men will escort it." This was the contingency. A second Mossad team, posing as hospital administrators, met the truck. The Savak escort watched as the crate was wheeled into the hospital's storage. They followed. The Sayanam doctor met them. "Gentlemen, thank you for your diligence. From here, you must remain outside. This is a sterile wing. We cannot risk infection." The Savak agents, unwilling to argue with a senior doctor and risk contamination, stood guard outside the doors. Inside the storage room, the doctor and his administrators quickly opened the crate, extracted the radio gear, and resealed it. The two Katzas, who had been hidden in a separate, larger medical supply crate, were ushered out through a laundry chute. 10 minutes later, the doctor emerged. "It is all in order. Thank you, gentlemen." The Savak agents left, reporting that the centrifuge had been delivered. That night, the Katsa team was on a bus to Qom, and the empty crate was in the hospital's incinerator. The airline had delivered its passengers right under the nose of the Shah's secret police. The system was brilliant, but it was run by humans, and humans, under pressure, begin to fray. Ronan, the chief pilot, was living a life of profound dualism. On Mondays, he flew white, hauling Dutch flowers to London. He would chat with his clean co-pilots, stay in sterile airport hotels, and feel for a moment like a normal civilian. On Thursdays, he flew black. He would land in Damascus or Baghdad, his knuckles white on the yoke, acutely aware that the man in the co-pilot's seat, just 2 feet away, was an unwitting civilian who would be the first to be executed if they were ever discovered. He knew that beneath his feet, in Unit 7, a human being was lying in the dark, their life totally dependent on his skill and his ability to sound bored on the radio. He started smoking more. He drank. In his debriefs with Amir Harl in Tel Aviv, his reports became terse. "The number 3 engine on the 707 is leaking oil. Again," Ronan reported. "The clean crew is getting suspicious of the special maintenance we keep doing in Hangar 4. The Brit, Foster, asked me why our avionics bay looks different from every other 707 he's flown." "What did you tell him?" Harrell asked. "I told him it was a custom Israeli upgrade. He laughed. He's not stupid." Harrell was unconcerned. "He is clean. He has no proof. He is just a pilot. Focus on the mission, Ronan." "The mission is getting sloppy," Ronan shot back. "We are pushing these airframes too hard. We are pushing the crews too hard." Yakov in Damascus says the new customs chief is ex-Air Force intelligence. "He's not lazy, and he doesn't like cigarettes. He's watching us." Harrell stared at Ronan. "The system is the priority. The system works. We are placing assets that will save this country in the next war. Your job is to make sure the deliveries arrive on time. Do not let your nerves fail you." Ronan stood up. "My nerves are fine. But when that engine fails over Syria, it will be my nerves and the Katsa in the box that pay the price, not you in your office." He left the room, the scent of stale whiskey and jet fuel hanging in the air. The airline was showing its first signs of metal fatigue. The success of CMA had not gone entirely unnoticed, not by enemy intelligence, but by commercial rivals. A small, aggressive Lebanese cargo company, Translevant Air, saw CMA as a competitor for the lucrative and legitimate cargo routes. Translevant's owner had connections. He began complaining to officials in Beirut and Damascus that CMA was undercutting prices, suggesting they must be subsidized by a foreign power to afford such low rates. It was a common business complaint, but in the Middle East, such accusations had weight. This commercial rivalry provided an unexpected and dangerous new layer of scrutiny. In Beirut, the Translevant owner used his cousin in the customs department to harass CMA flights. Suddenly, CMA's white cargo, textiles, electronics, was held up for inspections. Paperwork was lost. Landing slots were unavailable. This was a problem. It drew attention. Amir Harel's team had to react. They couldn't use force. They had to use the same weapon: business. Mossad, through a third-party front company in France, made a generous offer to buy a 40% stake in Translevant Air. The owner, seeing a massive payday, agreed instantly. Overnight, the harassment stopped. The Lebanese company was now, unknowingly, partially owned by the Mossad. Harl had not only neutralized a threat, he had acquired a second, smaller regional airline for small-scale white routes, further muddying the waters. But the incident in Damascus that Ronan had warned about was about to flare. The new customs chief, Colonel Azmi, was a different breed. He was ascetic, deeply nationalistic, and incorruptible. He had been trained in Moscow. He believed in procedure. He found Yakov Georges and his lazy, cigarette-fueled familiarity to be offensive. "From now on, Monsieur Georges," Azmi told him, his voice like ice, "your manifests will be filed 48 hours in advance. And all specialty cargo is subject to random search. No exceptions." Yakov reported this to Tel Aviv. The pipeline to Damascus, the most critical one, was threatened. Harl was cold. "Then we give him a search. We will route a clean flight, a decoy. Let him search it. Let him find pumps. Let him get bored." A white flight was sent. Azmi, true to his word, had the entire plane unloaded. His men spent 6 hours opening crates. They found drilling pumps. Azmi was frustrated, but Yakov smiled. "As I said, Colonel, pumps. Now, if you'll excuse me, the delay has cost my company a great deal of money." Azmi waved him away, disgusted. The trap had been set, and he had taken the bait. He had searched the airline and found nothing. He would be less likely to search it again. It was a classic Mossad maneuver. Use the truth to tell the most effective lie. The victory was short-lived. Colonel Azmi, while temporarily sated in Damascus, had colleagues. His complaint about CMA's irregularities was noted by Syrian intelligence, who had a massive presence in Lebanon. They asked their Lebanese counterparts to put a watch on CMA's operations at Beirut International. The next black flight into Beirut was carrying not a person, but 2 tons of communications equipment. In reality, a sophisticated electronic warfare package destined for Christian Phalangist allies. Ronan landed the 707 on a hot, humid afternoon. The clean co-pilot, Foster, was handling the landing. As they taxied, Ronan saw it, not the usual lazy airport police. This was a detachment of the Duxiem Bureau, Lebanese military intelligence. They were not at the cargo terminal. They were waiting by their jeeps on the tarmac itself. Yakov, using a different cover in Beirut, was already on the ground, and he saw them too. He subtly spoke into his radio, an encrypted signal to Ronan's flight deck. The signal was one word: Indigo. Indigo meant, asset is live, ground is hostile, abort procedure. But the plane was already on the ground. The engines were winding down. The intelligence officers were approaching. On the flight deck, Ronan had seconds. He turned to Foster. "What's that?" "What's what?" "That light, the fire warning, number 2 engine." Foster's head snapped to the console. "I don't see anything." Ronan slammed his hand on the panel. "There, it's flickering. Damn it, shut it down. No, wait. We need to clear the apron." He keyed the mic to the tower. "Beirut Tower, CMA 109. We have a fire warning light on engine 2. Requesting permission to taxi to the safety pad. I repeat, possible engine fire. Requesting immediate clearance." The tower, panicked, granted it. The Duxiem Bureau jeep, seeing the plane moving again, sped up, flashing its lights. "CMA 109, stop your aircraft!" An officer yelled over a bullhorn. Ronan ignored him. He pushed the throttles. The 707, heavy with fuel and cargo, lurched forward, turning away from the cargo terminal and toward the distant, isolated fire safety area. "What are you doing?" Foster yelled. "We have to stop. We have to clear the active runway," Ronan yelled back. The jeep was forced to swerve as the 707's wing passed over it. Ronan taxied the plane a full kilometer away, to the most remote part of the airport. He shut down the engines. "Get the fire crew," he ordered Foster. He then keyed his encrypted radio to Yakov. "Indigo, asset is hot. Location compromised. Reroute." The intelligence officers, furious, raced to the plane, followed by the airport fire trucks. They surrounded the 707. The captain stormed up the stairs. "What is the meaning of this, Captain? You ignored a direct order." Ronan met him, his face a mask of professional concern. "Sir, I had a fire warning. My protocol is to isolate the aircraft to protect your terminal. You can check the logs. Now, my co-pilot is verifying. We may have a false alarm." For 2 hours, the 707 sat on the tarmac. Ronan and Foster, under guard, inspected the engine. The intelligence officers, with no authority to countermand a pilot's safety decision, fumed. They knew they had been outmaneuvered. Finally, Ronan announced it was a faulty sensor. The captain, knowing he'd been played but unable to prove it, was livid. "Your cargo will be impounded." Ronan shrugged. "As you wish. But it is delicate electronics. My company will file a damage claim with your government." The plane was searched. The special cargo was in its hidden compartment, but the ground crew to receive it was gone. The Deuxième Bureau couldn't open the sealed equipment crates without a specialist team, which they didn't have on site. After a 24-hour delay, the plane was released, with its cargo still on board. It was a failure. The asset wasn't delivered. But it was also a stunning success. The airline, the plane, and the crew were not compromised. The airline had proven it was robust enough to survive direct contact. The airline had become more than an infiltration tool. It was now the only viable escape route. In Baghdad, a high-level Qatsa, Ariel, had spent 5 years working his way into the inner circle of the Iraqi Ba'ath Party. He had gathered invaluable intelligence on their burgeoning chemical weapons program. But in 1982, a counterintelligence sweep, assisted by East German Stasi agents, had compromised a dead drop. Ariel's network was collapsing. He had to get out. A land route to Kurdistan was impossible. He was being watched. A commercial flight was a death sentence. His name was on a watch list. Amir Harel activated CMA for its most daring mission, an exfiltration from Saddam International Airport. The problem: how to get Ariel, a wanted man, onto the plane. CMA's ground agent in Baghdad, the elderly Iraqi Jew, activated his own network. The plan was one of audacious simplicity. Ariel was arrested by 2 Mukhabarat agents, in reality 2 Mossad Sayanim in stolen uniforms. They drove him not to a prison but to a secure warehouse. Simultaneously, CMA Flight 202 from Larnaca filed a flight plan to Baghdad. Its cargo: emergency oil fire suppression equipment. Its pilot: Ronan. The plane landed. The cargo was unloaded. But this time, the equipment was different. It was a large, empty, modified fire suppression tank. The ground agent, using his Ba'ath Party credentials, supervised the loading. The empty tank was loaded onto a truck and driven to the customs inspection warehouse, the same warehouse where Ariel was being held. In the chaos of the warehouse, Ariel was sealed inside the tank. The tank was then reloaded onto the truck and driven back to the airport. The ground agent, shouting at the guards, presented his papers. "This is the wrong foam. They sent the wrong kind. It has to go back to Cyprus. The minister is furious." The guards, terrified of a superior's anger, stamped the return to sender paperwork. The tank, with Ariel inside, was loaded back onto the 707. Ronan, on the flight deck, received the simple cargo manifest corrected message. It was the signal. He filed for immediate takeoff. CMA 202, ready for departure. Baghdad Tower. CMA 202, you are cleared. As the 707 climbed out of Iraqi airspace, Ronan felt a tension he had not felt since his first combat mission. They were not clear. Iraq had fighters. 10 minutes passed, then 20. They crossed the border into Turkish airspace. Ronan keyed the intercom to the cargo hold, a line that went directly to the tank. "Welcome home, Ariel." There was no reply but the click of a microphone. The airline had just stolen one of Israel's most valuable assets from under Saddam's nose. The operation was too successful. It was lasting too long. Amir Harel, now a division director, knew that all operations, even the most brilliant, have an expiration date. The Beirut incident, the new scrutiny in Damascus, the sheer number of clean pilots and crew who had passed through CMA, it was all creating a statistical footprint. Someone, somewhere, would eventually connect the dots. The airline had become a liability. In 1983, after the extraction from Baghdad, Harel made the call. "Shut it down. Liquidate Albatross." The shutdown had to be as meticulous as the creation. It couldn't just disappear. It had to fail, believably. For 6 months, CMA began its decline. It started missing payments to fuel suppliers, who were in fact Mossad front companies. It lost its insurance coverage. Its pilots, both clean and dirty, were laid off as the company restructured. Ronan flew the last white flight, hauling olives from Athens. He landed the old 707 in Larnaca, signed the logbook, and walked out of Hangar 4 for the last time. He was transferred to Mossad's training division. Yakov George in Damascus quit, complaining that CMA hadn't paid him in months. He told his customs contacts he was moving to Canada. He was exfiltrated through Turkey. The ground agents in Beirut, Baghdad, and Tehran vanished, their covers dissolving, their psionim networks going dormant. The shell companies in Panama filed for bankruptcy. The Cypriot government, chasing debts, seized CMA's assets. The two 707s and the single DC-8 were chained on the tarmac at Larnaca. A month later, they were sold for scrap at a public auction. The buyer was a mysterious Arizona aviation scrap dealer. The planes were flown, one last time, to a boneyard in the American desert. There, a special team from Mossad's technical division dismantled them, piece by piece, paying special attention to Special Cargo Unit 7 and the custom avionics. Within a year, Cyprus Mediterranean Airways was nothing but a forgotten footnote in an aviation trade journal, a failed cargo venture. The ledgers are closed. The shell